Okay, here we go. Thank you for your patience. Again, welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, July 11th. For introduction purposes, I'm Todd Wilchin. I am the chair of the county board. On my left, fellow commissioners Jennifer Brinkman and Deb Shore. On my right, fellow commissioners Roma Amundsen and the vice chair, Bill Avery. Joining us from the county attorney's office this morning is Mr. David Durbin. From the county clerk's office, we have the county clerk, Dan Nolte, and Kelly Lundgren. And then from the county board office, we have the chief administrative officer, Carrie Egan, and the deputy chief administrative officer, Ann Ames. Now, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you please start the agenda.
Copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, June 27th, 2017.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, June 27th. Are there any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Avery?
Yes.
Brinkman?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Amundsen?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 are claims. Approval of all claims processed through July 11th, 2017.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all claims processed through today. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Amundsen?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 is a special presentation. This is a Region 5 annual report. Dave Merrill of Region 5 Services and C.J. Johnson, Region 5 Systems.
Well, good morning. My name is C.J. Johnson. I'm the Regional Administrator for Region 5 Systems. We are responsible for providing behavioral health services to those that are either underinsured or have no insurance at all throughout southeast Nebraska. I just want to walk with you through a few key elements of our annual report. On page 5, you'll see that we manage about $22 million annually. You'll notice that 59% of that goes towards specifically adult services, with a very small percentage, only 12% going towards children's services. That's because most of children's services dollars are either founded in child welfare or juvenile justice. Over the years, we've been able to expand some of the children's services, but again, most of those state dollars are in child welfare and juvenile justice. You'll notice that we spend about 13% of our funding on the emergency services, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. And finally, you'll see that we spend about 4% on prevention activities. If you'll go to page 19, I'll talk about a rental assistance program. This program has been in existence since 2004. The program itself provides vouchers for individuals who have a serious mental illness and a serious substance use problem. This program focuses on moving people into permanent housing. Many times this takes months to do because people have to demonstrate good rental history, because a lot of times individuals with these challenges have a history of not having good rental history. This program has been highly successful over the years. It's managed to help hundreds of people move to permanent housing. It has also been very effective in bringing in federal dollars. We've seen millions of dollars come into primarily Lancaster County to help with the homeless population and moving them into permanent housing. If you go to page 26, I would like to talk about the emergency, or 22, I'm sorry, the Emergency Protective Custody System. Last year, Lancaster County had 489 individuals placed on emergency protective custody hold. About 10% of those individuals generally get placed on an inpatient commitment. About a year and a half ago, we began to use Mary Lanning in Hastings, Nebraska to address those inpatient commitments. This may sound like a challenge because people are going that far away, but before we were using the state hospital, and just a comparison, when individuals go to Mary Lanning, they're there approximately 19 days, and then we transport them back into the community with services. When they go to Lincoln Regional Center, we're talking about hundreds of days of stay there, and a lot of time, and our return rate, if you will, back into the emergency system is exactly the same. So by using Mary Lanning, not only are we saving dollars, but we're also getting people back into their community, close to their families, in a much sooner pace. You'll notice that our average post-commitment days have gone down over the years. This is when somebody is placed on an inpatient commitment or an outpatient commitment. In the past, they would stay in the crisis center until they could receive those services. We called those post-commitment days. Those have continued to go down over the years, and this year we anticipate that it'll be one of the lowest years we've ever had for that. I'd also like to point out that we have crisis response teams in our rural counties. Those crisis response teams are available for law enforcement to have a therapist come out anytime they have an individual that they're not sure they need to place on an emergency protective custody hold, but need some support finding alternatives. I'm very happy to announce that as of April 1st, Lincoln Law Enforcement now has access to crisis response. Centerpoint provides that. Those crisis response are available for families and their children who maybe are having challenges. Also, whenever that call comes in, referrals made to families inspiring families so that those families have access up to 72 hours, not only with a therapist, but also with a parent partner. A parent partner is somebody who's had a child go through the system and understands the system and can support that family. So we're very happy that we've been able to start that for the Lincoln Law Enforcement. Also, as part of the Lincoln Law Enforcement response to mental health calls, the REAL program provided by the Mental Health Association is available. After a contact, an email is sent to the Mental Health Association, and within 24 hours they try and make follow-up contact with that individual just to see how they're doing. We feel this has been very helpful in not having repeat mental health contacts, as well as continuing to keep our EPCs down. You'll see on pages 23 through 25, we contract with 10 to 13 different agencies every year to provide behavioral health services. On those pages, you'll see the various services that we provide. Many of them are not Medicaid eligible, especially in the emergency system. So we provide those services by contracting with those providers. In relation to those providers, we go out and do annual audits. We provide other supports to them as we can, and we continue to work with that network. And on page 26, I'd like to talk a little bit about our professional partner program. This program started in 1995, and its primary goal was to work with families with children with serious emotional disturbances. And the goal was to keep those children in their homes, their families, and communities, and schools. This program has been highly successful over the year, having over a 95% success rate at accomplishing that. So much so that over the last few years, we've been able to expand that program. We now have a contract with Child Welfare to do follow-up with families that have been in their system. We have a contract with Juvenile Justice to do follow-up and to help support youth there. A number of years ago, and with the crisis response teams that we developed, we've also expanded a track so that there's availability to those families if they need longer-term support than what those crisis response teams provide. A number of years ago, we noticed that a lot of repeat admissions going into the crisis center were youth 19 to 25. And so we expanded a track called Transition Age Professional Partner. And since we've expanded that program, we've seen over a 50% reduction in those repeat admissions into the crisis center because we're hitting that population that's trying to transition from being in foster care and receiving youth services, and then trying to adjust to those adult services. So we're very happy about that. Talk a little bit about money. If you go to the very last page, the governor's budget bill went through. This showed a reduction of about $290,000 in our overall allocations. I'm very happy to report that we were able to meet that reduction without affecting any direct services or any service capacity within our system. As presented to the Regional Governing Board, they elected to approve that there be no change in the annual county contribution. You'll see that in mental health, that would be $636,094, and in substance abuse, $114,407. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have right now.
Commissioner Shore?
A question about your previous portion about using Mary Landing. What is the cost per day? I mean, you said that they're returning to the community sooner. The cost per day to place there as opposed to the regional center, and how are you transporting? Just, I guess, more about that whole process.
Well, as far as cost per day, as part of our allocation, we get, so when they're figuring up the formula, with us using the Lincoln Regional Center, that's about $2.5 million that they attribute to our allocation costs. So by using Mary Lanning, we've greatly reduced that overall cost. In other words, this last year we spent about $500,000 on those costs. Now the only trick I have is to convince the state that because we're not using the Lincoln Regional Center, that allocation should not be attributed to our overall formula.
Right, yeah.
Right. So.
Okay. And our utilization of those beds is not affecting that region's utilization?
No, other than the fact that the entire state is constantly being affected by different changes. For example, Richard Young right now is having a great deal of difficulty getting nurses and other staff, so that impacts their psychiatric usage. But overall, we've been able to work with all the hospitals and meet everybody's needs that we've needed to do.
Okay, thank you.
And that kind of segues into my question. I know we've talked about it before, and it kind of goes back to the situation with Mary Lanning. You know, for a city the size of Lincoln, you know, and I know we've had at least one meeting with the state trying to build capacity for the subacute services here in Lancaster County. I don't know if you have you made any progress with some of the providers?
Well, in our region, the only psychiatric provider that we would have for inpatient acute is Bryan Health. And one of the things that happened many years ago when they were readjusting their psychiatric beds and doing some remodeling and expansion, they did that in relation to strictly the private, what they would see as the private sector capacity.
Private pay.
Quite honestly, when you look at that, we have about 60 individuals placed on an inpatient commitment annually, and you know, with a 19 to let's say 25 average length of stay, you're only talking about 1 or 2 beds at any given time. So I know those negotiations are still going on, but as far as any progress to actually have individuals stay here in Lancaster County, I don't think that's going to happen for a while.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Well, I appreciate you coming today, and obviously, as the county's representative on Region 5, appreciate your work and your service to the vulnerable population in Lancaster County and the region.
And I just want to quickly thank you, Todd. Todd's been a really active board member. He's been really active on our executive committee. And he has picked up what we do quite fast, which is pretty incredible to us because we have over 17 different kinds of funding streams that we have to manage and watch over. So we really appreciate his involvement. So thank you.
In the other Region 5, I'm Dave Merrill with Region 5 Services, and we support people with developmental disabilities. One of the things about how Region 5 does business, both Region 5 services and systems, is we try to work as efficiently as possible. And a lot of times people don't realize that in other regions that you don't always have the same 16 county commissioners that are serving on 2 different boards. They're different legal entities. We provide services to different people, but it offers an efficiency in terms of mileage and expenses and time, but it also has a cost of the board member has to learn 2 different systems, and it gets complicated. Lancaster County has a long history of good representation going, and Deb, you're the only one left of the previous people who have done that. So I know that you like our report because it has lots of pictures in it. I'd have you turn to page 6 in the gray report just to get an overall view of Region 5 services. We support just about 900 people. To have a feel for the whole state of Nebraska, there are 54 certified providers, and there's about 4,200 people that receive supports. So about 1/5 of the people in the state receive supports from our agency. Families choose which agencies they receive their supports from, and so we're pleased that so many people choose us. You'll see the positive indicators of success. We try to keep track of people who own their own homes or rent housing because that gives them the role of property taxpayer. And those are valued roles, and then so people start to see people with disabilities as contributors rather than there's some folks who might not understand the contributions they make. But that role of property taxpayer, people understand that. So when people own their own homes. Employment and working in the community is a similar thing, that being a taxpayer that way is also something that the community values. We have about 259 people who are employed in the community. We don't count any work crew work or contract work or anything other than the person being employed directly by someone in the community. And actually that number of 259 is the highest number we've ever had. Number of total staff to do this is around 965, with about 400 and some being part-time because we work 24/7. We never have fewer than 200 people working at any hour of any day across southeast Nebraska. You'll see our total budget there, and just basically it was a very difficult year. Our contract called for us to be paid one amount. The state changed it kind of midstream, and it cost us about $200,000 every month. We were able to recapture some of that through a deficit appropriation for October, November, December, January, and February, but then began losing that same amount in March, April, May, and June, and just getting through this year has been quite a challenge for us. And I guess the main thing in terms of county funding that I have to report every year is that Lancaster County remains the only county in the state of Nebraska that provides nothing for developmental disabilities. And I know I've been reporting that for the last 10 years, and at some point I think I'd really like to visit with you about some approach that we could take to do at least some sort of minimal funding that would be, you know, maybe the same as the smallest county we have, Pawnee County or something like that, along those lines, and think about that. But in terms of funding, county funding is less than 1/2 of 1% of our total budget. Most of it is just related to the federal government and the state and the federal things. Also, we had our new mission guidelines, and if you take a look at those, the green sheet, you'll see the different roles that people have played, and just kind of the value that we put on having people play significant roles in the community. I'd be happy to answer any questions. This is my 29th time before the Lancaster County Board, and when I started there were 6 area programs, and then we had a contract with Lomar back in the day, and now there's 15 area programs, 5 satellite programs, and just it has grown a lot over the years. So,
any questions for Mr. Merrill? Commissioner Shore?
Can you talk a little bit about how the foundation supports your efforts?
Sure. In 1991, we started the foundation because as a public subdivision, we were not eligible for certain grants that needed 501c3 status, in particular the Department of Roads van grants. And so in 91, we started that, and then we also wanted some percentage of our homes that we were renting to be not at the whim of a landlord, and so people we support had to move frequently in a variety of things that way. So it's primarily funded through the homes and transportation area and leases that way. But it's really helped us over time. We now, there's over 80-some vehicles through the Department of Roads that we got through that. So,
Mr. Merrill, and I've reported back several times about the issues you faced with the budget cuts and then the contracts
Yes.
modification. Could you briefly explain that? I think you probably would do a better job than I have done for the board, because I think it's important for them to know.
sure. The state indicated that the federal government wasn't going to pay them at a full rate for our weekends, especially in homes, Saturdays and Sundays. And so the contract that called for a certain rate was reduced to 48.15% of that rate, but the effect was that every month $200,000 less of an income that you had there. The other thing that happened is the state decided to pass the cost of criminal background checks onto our agency, and you've maybe seen this in areas before where somebody says we're managing these costs and we're saving that money, and it just it was essentially $400,000 that was just passed on to the providers of agencies across the state of Nebraska, kind of a cost shifting. So we've had incredible challenges with funding this year, and we won't know exactly where we are until we make the total transition to the new funding system under the new Medicaid waivers. So we're waiting to see how that works out.
And so that rate, that 48.1, is the rate that was be paid on weekends. So,
Right.
Right. So the difference, even though these individuals receive services 7 days a week,
Right.
they've decided that on weekends, the rate would be 48%.
The state indicates that that's CMS decision not to pay them to pay the state for that service. We've never quite understood all the fine details, but we understand the impact, certainly.
And then also the classification have gone from, I think you had 11 types of,
Exactly.
now you have 4.
Yeah. So before, all the people that we support, about 900 people, fell into a category of need level of 1 to 11 different categories. Now there's only 4 categories. So that was a big thing. So we're seeing families being affected, and some went up, some went down, and just in terms of how their funding was affected. I think there's one point that I probably should make is just simply that we did build a training facility this year because one of the things as we've gotten so large is training is a big part of our program. And this training program building actually helps us be more efficient and will lower our costs on an ongoing basis. So at the same time that we're kind of concerned about our federal and state funding, lowering our expenses is a good thing. I should thank Lancaster County too for you've helped us by we've used the extension office for a number of years in terms of training, so appreciate that.
Any other questions for Mr. Merrill? And again, I would, on behalf of Lancaster County, thank you for your service and the work you do to help the disadvantaged in our community. It's very much appreciated. So thank you.
It's been a blessing. It really has. Thank you.
9 years?
29 years.
Wow.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, please continue the agenda.
Next is new business. 4A is a resolution in a matter of witness fees paid by Lancaster County, which have remained unclaimed for 6 months or more.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second in the matter of witness fees paid by Lancaster County, which have remained unclaimed for 6 months or more. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. B is recommendation from the Personnel Policy Board to revise the classification, title, and change the pay grade of the court clerk, and to revise the classification and title of the court services supervisor.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation from the Personal Policy Board to revise the classification, title, and change of the pay grade of the county clerk. Any questions or discussion? Excuse me. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. C is a lease agreement between Randy Chevalier and Lancaster County to lease real property owned by the county as described in the agreement. Lessee will pay the county $250. Term of lease is from January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the lease agreement with Randy Chevalier. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 4D is an agreement for work financial plan between Lancaster County and the United States Department of Agricultural, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service Wildlife Services for a wildlife damage management program in Lancaster County from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. APHISWS will assign one wildlife specialist that will respond to nuisance wildlife problems within the county. The cost of the program will not exceed $7,499.45.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Wildlife Services. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. E is a consent to assignment of contract between Lancaster County, the City of Lincoln, the Lincoln-Lancaster County Building Commission, and Waste Connections in Nebraska, Inc. The consent to assign contract accepts the assignment of all Waste Connections rights, title, and interest to the contract under county contract C-13-602 to Uribe Refuse Services, Inc.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent to assignment of contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 4F is an agreement with Region 5 Systems for emergency protective custody services at the Mental Health Crisis Center. Region 5 will enter into separate agreements with referring counties who will send acutely mentally ill individuals to Lancaster County. The county will be paid $186 per individual per day. Term of the agreement is July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Region 5 Systems for emergency protective custody services at the Mental Health Crisis Center. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 4G, the county attorney has requested that be held. H is a recommendation from the purchasing department to award a contract for the annual supply of workstations and accessories to AOI Corporation and Office Interiors and Design, Inc. The estimated amount is $5,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation from the purchasing department to award a contract for the annual supply of workstations and accessories. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. I is an interlocal agreement with Educational Service Unit Number 18 for educational services to youth detained at the Youth Services Center. The county will reimburse the ESU up to $892,330 for the services provided. Term of the agreement is August 1st, 2017 to July 31st, 2018.
Good morning, Michelle Schindler, Lancaster County Youth Services Director. This is an ongoing contract, as some of you know. We've contracted with LPS for educational services for our youth at the facility since '76 when we first opened. How this works is we pay for the staffing and the services, and then we are in turn reimbursed through HHS for educational services. There's state funds for out-of-home educational services that go to all facilities. Our youth, as you know, most of them are in school or should be, and so we provide school year-round, and they provide math, English, social studies, science, computer technology, reading, all the core classes, and youth can actually earn credit while they're in our facility. It is up to the youth on whether they choose to earn credit, but they do have that opportunity, and school is required. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Schindler? Oh,
I noted that it was a significant reduction from last year's budgeted contract, so did you want to comment on
sure.
that a little?
Thank you, I appreciate that. As you had requested, the board, that we look at reduction in our budgets. We did ask our contracts to look at that. We have had a reduction in our population, and LPS was able to do a reduction to meet our current population needs. So that's in compliance with the request that was given.
Any other questions?
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the interlocal agreement with Educational Service Unit numbers 18 for educational services to youth detained at the Youth Services Center. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. J is an agreement with TCW Construction, Inc. and Lancaster County on behalf of the Lancaster County Engineer for replacement of structures H-128, H-130, and J-143. The cost of county is $715,937. Work is to be completed on or before December 18th, 2017.
Move approval.
Second with a question.
Oh,
Ken, are you prepared? I guess, just for the viewing public who might not be familiar exactly where these structures are, can you give us maybe cross streets and when they'll be closed and estimated date to reopen?
They're on the Ken Schroeder, Lancaster County Engineering Department. They're on North 148th Street. Two of the structures are just north and south of Alvo Road, and one is just south of Holdridge Street.
I think the county engineer refers to these as the baby bridges, correct?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
They're box culverts, but they're baby bridges.
Oh.
And they have the okay to start, I think, the July 31st, and to be completed before December 18th.
And, yeah, and then at some point, that we would be informed about the closure of 148th.
Right, there's a detour plan for each bridge, and
Okay.
I guess the contractor has tentatively set a schedule to start H-128 September 5th, and H-130 October 2nd, and start J-143 November 1st.
Okay.
That was their schedule.
So we'll
They have,
complete-
once started, they have 30 working days to do it, so, to complete the project, so. that's-
Are you prepared to discuss the detour route?
I do have, the detour is a mile for each, around each one. Here's H-128. Basically, just gonna go to the east on McKelvey to North 162nd Street and then back. There's H-130, same situation. And then the J-143 just goes in the other direction. And most of the detours are on gravel, but
Any other questions for Mr. Schroeder? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with TCW Construction for the replacement of structures H-128, H-130, and J-143. Any additional discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, our interlocal agreements with the following counties for the safekeeping, care, and sustenance of pre-adjudicated juvenile at the Youth Services Center. Lancaster County will be reimbursed at the rate of $276 per juvenile per day, and this includes Fillmore County, Hall County, Hamilton County, Harlan County, Hooker County, Kimball County, Morrill County, Pawnee County, Polk County, and Saline County.
Good morning, Michelle Schindler, Director, Lancaster County Youth Services. This is the second set of contracts that have came in from contract counties. As you may recall, this is the renewal with the new rate of $276 to serve pre-adjudicated youth at our facility on a space available basis. Just a reminder, this one other change was they will be responsible for the costs of medical care, medications, and we were able to accomplish that with the great work of Mr. Dave Durbin, who we appreciate greatly. We have until the 24th to get back the rest of the contracts. I think we have 10 more next week that will be coming. 6 more next week, so they still are coming in. Okay. Answer any questions if you have any.
Move approval?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the interlocal agreements with the following counties for the safekeeping, care, and sustenance of pre-adjudicated juveniles at the Youth Services Center. Any discussion? I will just point out again that I will be voting no because I object to not charging counties the true cost of detention for Lancaster County. So I will be voting no. Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
No.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 no. L are amendments to the following contracts using the University of Nebraska contract number 2135-13-7215 for paint and related products. The amendments renew the contracts from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And this includes County Contract C-13-482 with Diamond Vogel in an amount not to exceed $1,500. And County Contract C-13-483 with Sherwin-Williams Paint Company in an amount not to exceed $1,500.
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the contracts for paint and related products through the University of Nebraska contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. M is an amendment to County Contract C-15-380 between National Everything Wholesale using the City of Tucson, Arizona contract number 151148 for janitorial and sanitation supplies, equipment, and related services. The amendment renews a contract from August 2nd, 2017 through August 1st, 2018. The estimated cost of the county is not to exceed $210,000.
Move approval?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the contract for janitorial and sanitation supplies, equipment, and related services with the National Everything Wholesale. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 4N is an amendment to County Contract C-14-377 with Concrete Industries, Inc. for the annual supply of asphaltic joint sealant. The amendment renews the contract from July 29, 2017 through July 28, 2018. The cost of county is not to exceed $15,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the contract with Concrete Industries for the annual supply of asphaltic joint sealant. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. O is a grant contract with CASA in the amount of $12,000 for the Volunteer Advocates Program. The grant is funded by Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds for a term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Good morning, Sarah, Director of Lincoln Lancaster Human Services. The first contract, CASA, court-appointed special advocates, are all community volunteers. They are assigned cases through our juvenile court judges. Primarily, it's for kids who are on the abuse and neglect docket. These volunteer advocates attend court hearings. They also visit children in their home environment, be it at school or at their daycare facilities. Some do at home too. And basically the primary purpose of the CASAs are to help the court case move along. And I talked at greater length about this a couple weeks ago when it was approved for the Joint Budget Committee funding for $5,000.
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with CASA. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 4P is a grant contract with Christian Heritage in the amount of $3,200 for the Destination Home Program. The grant is funded by Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds for a term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
And Destination Dad is, or Destination Home now it's called, through Christian Heritage is actually a program that's facilitated at the Youth Detention Center. It's a communication program that teaches not only youth but also their family members the basics of communication. And from reviewing the surveys that they submit to us, a lot of families and kids don't have that basic communication skill. And so a lot of the feedback that we're getting from clients is that they're able to take what they've learned and actually apply it in their life and in their relationships, and it's helped them. So that's always good to see when you see that coming back in. So.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with Christian Heritage for the Destination Home Program.
If I could
Commissioner
just
Shore?
Note that it has been so successful over the years that we're running a similar program with Christian Heritage at our adult facility.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Q is a grant contract with Boys and Girls Club in the amount of $34,244 for the Formula for Impact program. The grant is funded by Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds for a term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
Formula for Impact is basically different areas that they're trying to instill throughout their program at Boys and Girls Club. And I just want to say, too, Boys and Girls Club is located at Park Middle School, and Park Middle School, in addition to Boys and Girls Club, through a collaboration, just redid a whole new area for all of the kids at Boys and Girls Club. At the end of the school year, they had over 1,500 kids registered for Boys and Girls Club, and these are kids ages 6 through 18. LPS has a system in place where kids can get on the bus and be bused over to Park Middle School for after-school hours, and then they can participate in Boys and Girls Club over there. So it's a great activity. It's supervised. It's a great way to keep kids off the street, engaged in pro-social activities.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with Boys and Girls Club for the Formula for Impact program. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. R is a grant contract with YWCA of Lincoln in the amount of $55,000 for the Mother-Daughter Circles program. The grant is funded by Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds for a term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
And this program was actually started a couple years ago at the request of both Sudanese and Arabic mothers. If you can imagine all of the things that a mother already goes through with a teenager daughter, yet alone to be an immigrant or a refugee in our community and to have the discussions that we already have to have with our teenage daughters in reference to appropriate dress, what texting should be, should not be, Facebook, all the social implications that come with teenage girls. So the Sudanese community, the Arabic community asked, can we have something in place to help guide us through this? And these circles were created. If you ever get a chance, they're Saturday afternoons. I've been to a couple. Just let me know if you want to go sit in on one. They're at the Asian Community Center. It is really interesting. They're in Arabic, but somebody, if I know you're coming, and what they do for me is somebody sits with me and translates for me so I know what's happening. But it's very moving to see the mothers and the daughters. In fact, some of the mothers afterwards approached me and asked if we could start the group for mothers and sons too. So we're looking at that. But we want a curriculum in place, and we're not able to find that right now, an evidence-based one. So.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with the ywca of Lincoln for the Mother-Daughter Circles program. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 5 is consent items. Receive and place on file the following reports from June 2017. Assessor, Register of Deeds, Clerk of the District Court, and County Clerk. Right-of-way contracts between Lancaster County and the following: Rita Kramer, Northwest 40th Street and West McKelvey Road, in the amount of $1,472.50. James Buell, North 148th Street and Alville Road, in the amount of $2,080. And Bevins Barnes LLC, North 148th Street and Alville Road, as a donation.
Move approval of the consent items?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Anyone here from the public wishing to make a comment on an item not on the agenda? Okay. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry. Continue with the agenda.
Next is number 7, announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, July 13th, 2017, at 8:30 a.m. in a Bill Luxford studio of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold their next regular meeting on Tuesday, July 18th, 2017, at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building, with the Board of Equalization meeting immediately following. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live. It is rebroadcast on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays on 5 City TV, cable channel 5. In addition, the meeting may be viewed on the internet at lancaster.ne.gov under 5 City TV, video on demand, or 5 City TV on YouTube.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, that concludes the county board meeting. Next, we will start the Lancaster County Board of Equalization meeting for Tuesday, July 11th. Mr. Clerk, would you please start the agenda?
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Also in attendance this morning is Scott Gaines from the County Assessor's Office. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, June 20th, 2017.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, June 20th. Any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 are additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Move approval of the additions and deductions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 is a public hearing. This is a motor vehicle tax exemption application for Union College.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the public hearing for the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Anyone here to testify in support, opposition, or neutral capacity on these applications? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close this public hearing.
Next is number 4, action on motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 5 is notice of assessed valuation change for property taxation purposes, and this is for Kenneth D. Jensen.
Good morning, Scott Gaines, Deputy Assessor, Register Deeds. This is a correction valuation notice to reflect a correction our office made. We inadvertently duplicated the agricultural land lines on this property, so this is just to correctly reflect the value that should have been on in the first place.
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the notice of assessed valuation change for property taxation purposes from Mr. Kenneth Jensen. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to County Board of Equalization business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Okay, is anyone from the public here to speak on items not on the agenda? Okay, please continue with the agenda, Mr. Clerk.
Next is adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Brinkman,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and that concludes our Board of Equalization meeting. Have a good day.